They surrounded him in a dark alley, mocking his red MAGA hat and confident in their impunity. They thought they had found another victim to humiliate, unaware that this man was a UFC fighter whose strength and resilience were already legendary. What happened next forever changed their understanding of the lines that should never be crossed. But it all started with one careless word. Michael Crawford was walking home late at night after having dinner with friends. To save time, he decided to take a shortcut through a narrow, dimly lit alley. He was wearing a red MAGA hat, a choice that often provoked mixed reactions. But Michael wasn't the type to hide his beliefs. As he turned the corner, loud laughter echoed from deep within the alley. 3 guys leaning against the wall immediately noticed his hat. One of them, a tall, skinny guy with a nose piercing, raised his hand, pointing at Michael. "Hey, look who we've got here! Another Make America Great Again fan!" The other 2 quickly joined in. "Hey man, you really think that hat makes you cool?" said a blond guy with massive tattoos on his arms, starting to move toward Michael. Michael realized it was better not to respond. He kept walking steadily, trying not to provoke a confrontation. But the guys were clearly looking for trouble. The third one, the youngest of the group, with a thin face and a hoodie pulled over his head, stepped forward, deliberately blocking Michael's path. "Hey, where do you think you're going? We're talking to you," he said, standing directly in Michael's way, forcing him to stop. Michael looked up calmly. "I'm just heading home. If you don't mind, I'd like to keep walking." "Oh, look how polite he is," the blond guy sneered, stepping closer. "You think you can just walk around with that hat and no one's going to say anything?" The skinny guy laughed, walking up behind Michael and suddenly snatching the hat off his head. "Oh, now this is too much. Let's see how you look without your political helmet." He threw the hat dramatically onto the ground, and the blond guy stomped on it with his boot. Michael watched silently, but inside, he could feel the situation escalating out of control. "What's the matter? Cat got your tongue?" the guy in the hoodie yelled, shoving Michael hard in the chest. Michael staggered slightly but kept his balance, showing no aggression. "Look, I haven't done anything to you. Just let me pass and we'll leave it at that." But the guys clearly weren't done. "Oh, he's scared," the skinny guy said, pulling out his phone to start recording. "Let's film this. Show everyone how we teach MAGA fans some humility." The guy in the hoodie tried to shove Michael again, but Michael sidestepped, staying in place. "Guys, seriously, don't do this. It's a bad idea," Michael said calmly, but his words only angered the blonde. "A bad idea? What, you're gonna teach us a lesson now?" he said, stepping closer and grabbing Michael by the shoulder, ready to throw a punch. Michael realized the conflict was unavoidable. He quickly assessed the situation. 3 against 1, the alley was empty. No help was coming. But instead of fear, he felt only readiness to act. As soon as the blonde grabbed Michael's shoulder, the other guys took it as a signal to jump in. The skinny guy, still holding his phone, yelled, "Come on, show us how you're gonna defend your MAGA ideology." Michael tried to stay calm. He knew that one wrong move could make things worse. "Listen," he said evenly. "I just want to go home. You don't need to do this." "You really think you can tell us what to do?" the blonde said, gripping Michael's shoulder tighter and trying to shove him. Michael easily avoided the shove, but it only made them angrier. "Oh, what are you? An athlete or something? Think you're gonna scare us off?" said the hoodie-wearing guy, stepping closer. He lunged forward suddenly, smirking as he swung a punch toward Michael's chest. Michael sidestepped quickly, creating distance. "Guys, this is your last warning," Michael said, his voice calm, but his eyes filled with confidence. The skinny guy kept recording, laughing mockingly. "Look at him run, like a scared rabbit. Don't be shy. Show us what you've got." Michael stepped back again to keep all 3 of them in front of him when the blonde pulled a chain out of his pocket. "Oh, now I'm sure you're gonna regret taking this path," he sneered, wrapping the chain around his fist. The skinny guy started hyping up the group. "This is gonna be a show! Nobody walks through our neighborhood with that stupid hat!" The guy in the hoodie lunged forward again, throwing a punch with all his might. Michael dodged, and the guy's fist slammed into the brick wall. He let out a yelp, clutching his hand, but his friends didn't back off. The blonde swung the chain at Michael, but Michael smoothly ducked, shoving the guy slightly off balance. The blonde stumbled and nearly fell into a trash can. Meanwhile, the guy in the hoodie grabbed a bottle from a nearby dumpster and raised it to strike. Michael noticed the movement out of the corner of his eye and quickly stepped aside. The bottle smashed against the wall, sending shards flying. The situation was growing more dangerous by the second.
"All right, tough guy, now you're in real trouble,"
the blonde yelled, charging forward with another swing of the chain. Michael finally changed tactics. He caught the blonde's arm mid-swing, twisting it until the chain dropped. The blonde cried out in pain. "You don't understand what you're getting yourselves into," Michael said firmly. "I warned you." The skinny guy stopped laughing and put his phone away. "Hey, maybe we should stop," he muttered, noticing how easily Michael was handling the situation. "What, you scared?" the hoodie-wearing guy shouted, still holding the broken bottle. "We're not done here." But at that moment, the blonde, now writhing in pain, shouted, "He's not just some random guy! He knows what he's doing!" The group was starting to realize they were out of their depth, but they were reluctant to retreat. Michael remained calm and steady, ready for whatever came next. He could already tell the confrontation was reaching its breaking point. The blonde's first punch was powerful and quick, but Michael moved faster. He dodged at the last moment, causing his opponent to lose his balance. The blonde swung again, but Michael instantly caught his wrist, twisted it, and pinned his arm behind his back. The blonde cried out in pain, collapsing to his knees. "What the?" shouted the guy with the piercing, hurriedly tucking his phone away. He charged at Michael, but Michael sidestepped with precision, sticking out his leg as he did. The guy lost his footing and slammed into the wall with a dull thud. Michael released the blonde, who groaned in pain as he crawled off to the side. That left the guy in the hoodie as the only one still ready to fight. In his hand, he held the jagged remains of a broken bottle, the shards glinting under the streetlight. "Come on then, let's see you handle this," he yelled, lunging forward. Michael stayed calm, calculating his opponent's movements in seconds. As the guy attacked, Michael stepped to the side, grabbed his wrist, and twisted it until the bottle fell to the ground. A swift push followed, and the guy in the hoodie was pinned to the pavement, his arm locked in place. "Who the hell are you?" the guy yelled, writhing in pain. Michael lifted his head, calmly addressing the group. "I told you this was a bad idea." The guy with the piercing struggled to his feet, clutching his side as he slowly backed away. His voice trembled. "Hey, look, it was just a joke. We were just messing around." "Messing around?" Michael bent down, picking up his hat from the ground. He dusted it off, his eyes fixed on the bullies. "You attack someone because you don't like their hat? That's your idea of fun?" "We didn't know," the blonde stammered, cradling his injured arm. "Didn't know what?" Michael stepped forward, his presence making the bullies freeze in place. "That I'm not just some guy in a hat? That I'm a UFC fighter?" His words hit the trio like a thunderclap. The blonde turned pale, the guy with the piercing stood paralyzed, and the one in the hoodie just froze. "A fighter?" the guy with the piercing murmured. Michael nodded. "And now you understand why I tried to stop this. I don't want trouble, but if you're looking for it, I'll give it to you." For a moment, silence filled the alley. Then the guy in the hoodie tried to stand, but his legs shook beneath him. He cast one terrified glance at Michael and shouted, "Let's get out of here, guys!" The blonde and the pierced guy didn't hesitate. They bolted down the alley, the guy in the hoodie following close behind, stumbling and glancing back. As the alley emptied, Michael took a deep breath, put his hat back on, and adjusted his jacket. He knew this encounter would stick with the bullies for a long time, a lesson they wouldn't forget. Michael adjusted his hat, brushing off the last bits of dirt, and prepared to continue on his way. But instead of silence, he heard approaching footsteps and loud voices. At the mouth of the alley, a small crowd had gathered. Drawn by the commotion, several people had begun filming on their phones. Among them were a few who had seen the bullies running away. "Was that you who took them out?" asked a man in a leather jacket, looking at Michael in surprise. They brought it on themselves, Michael replied calmly, nodding toward the direction the attackers had fled. The crowd buzzed with curiosity, speculating about who Michael was and how he had so effortlessly handled 3 attackers. Some noticed the hat and started discussing how the men had seemingly targeted him for his political views. Suddenly, 2 police officers appeared around the corner, their flashlights cutting through the dark. They quickly approached Michael. "We got a report about a fight," one of them said. "Are you hurt?" "No," Michael replied, gesturing toward the dumpster where the broken bottle lay. "But the ones who started it ran off." "Those 3 guys?" the other officer asked, turning to the witnesses. "Yeah, they attacked him because of his hat," shouted a woman in a tracksuit, still recording on her phone. "This guy was just defending himself." The officers exchanged glances. "Is that true?" one of them asked Michael. "Absolutely," Michael said calmly. "I warned them several times, but they wouldn't listen." As the officers began taking statements, the crowd grew louder with excitement. Michael noticed the officers exchanging looks of disbelief. One of them muttered under his breath, "That explains why they ran off so fast." One of the onlookers, a man wearing glasses, added, "It's almost funny. They attacked a fighter. Clearly they had no idea who he was." A few minutes later, the police received word that the attackers had been apprehended nearby. The officers thanked Michael for his cooperation and confirmed that he was free to go. "Thank you for your patience, Mr. Crawford," one of the officers said. "We'll make sure they're held accountable for their actions." As the crowd began to disperse, a few people approached Michael to shake his hand or ask for a selfie. "Hey, you're a real hero," said a young man. "People need to know there are consequences for stuff like this." Michael gave a slight smile. "I just don't tolerate injustice." He calmly resumed his walk home, aware that the incident would soon make headlines. As he walked, his phone began vibrating. Friends and acquaintances were sending him links to videos that witnesses had already uploaded. One post read, "Guys attack a man in a MAGA hat, not knowing he's a UFC fighter. Their reaction is priceless." Michael knew this story would serve as a lesson, not just for the men who attacked him, but for many others as well. People should be judged by their actions, not the symbols they choose to wear.